And that brings us on to Mega Man 5. First up, we have Charge Man. Ooh, boy. This fight sucks. On the Game Boy version, because of the screen crunch, it's almost impossible to jump over him without taking a hit. And he just likes to live right beside you. Preferably in you if he had his way. Don't take that the wrong way. But he will charge towards you if you're too far away. And sometimes he'll shoot projectiles up at the top that come down. And his weakness is the Power Stone, dealing 4 damage. And it's not a good weapon. It's not as bad on the Game Boy, because it goes away much quicker than it does on the NES. His secondary weakness is the Rain Flush, which deals 4 damage. Not as much as it deals to Brightman, but there you have it. On the NES version, his only weakness is the Power Stone, dealing 4 damage, and the fight sucks. Power Stone stays on the screen forever, and you're only going to hit him with it once, realistically. You almost have to abuse the fact that you can cancel Power Stone by pausing and be able to immediately use it again as soon as his iframes wear off. But this is a bad fight. I don't think I would rate him very highly even without the terrible weapon. But I mean, God, this Robot Master paired with this awful weapon is a bad combination. Not to mention he hits like a train when he touches you, which is like his whole thing. It's a more functional fight than Toadman. But yeah, Charge Man goes straight into the F tier. Next up we have Crystal Man. Crystal Man is a very laggy Robot Master, and this is not unique to the Game Boy version, although it is much worse in the Game Boy version. But for some reason, they gave Crystal Man, who is a very jumpy boy and spends much of his time in midair, the sole weakness of the charge slide, or charge kick, whatever it's called. What is it called? Charge kick, yeah. Just doesn't work well for this Robot Master. I mean, it's not his original weakness from the NES version. This is a Game Boy thing. His original weakness is actually not in the Game Boy game, so I guess you make do with what you got, but what you got is a terrible solution here. He's not too bad a fight normally, though, on the NES version. He has the same pattern, though. He will jump in the air, create his 4 balls of lag that go around the room. They don't really track towards you. They just kind of bounce off breakout style whenever they hit a wall or the floor or the ceiling. And he just jumps around. And his weakness is the gyro attack. I was about to call it the gyro spin. The gyro attack, which is a pretty good weakness for him because it goes out horizontally, so if he's on the ground, it would just hit him. But if he jumps after you shoot it, you can change directions once to go upward. I think you can go down with it as well. I only do it up. But he'll stay in the air long enough that it's pretty much guaranteed to hit him as long as you line it up with him before you press up. And it's a great weakness for him. It's not a terrible fight. The lag, even present on the NES version, is kind of... I've got to dock points for that, but I mean, I would be more forgiving if it were a Game Boy game because, you know, less powerful console, it's kind of prone to lag, but Come on, NES game. Most of these Robot Masters don't lag out like that. This is not going to dock too many points because it's not that bad a lag, but it is there. He's not a bad fight, though. I would probably put him right there in the B tier between Flashman and Oilman. Next up is our first Robot Master that I only have one game to pull footage from, the NES version. Wow. But it is Gravity Man, and this is a great fight. There's really no RNG to it. You'll probably see stuff you're not familiar with if you miss him a lot and the fight drags on. But this fight goes the exact same way every single time, regardless what you do. The gimmick is you'll start on the ceiling and then he'll walk along the floor or the ceiling opposite of you, and he'll usually shoot a lemon that tracks your position, and he will also flip gravity for both you and him, swapping places. And his weakness is the Star Crash, and it just works really well because it'll absorb the hit from his projectile if you're just positioned wrong, and because the fight is so predictable, it's great to just exchange hits with him on the way down or the way up. It is a little too predictable, and I think that'll keep it out of the S tier, but it is definitely an A tier fight. Right below Rain Man. Next up we have Gyro Man, which also only appears on the NES version. This is not a great fight with the weakness. It's probably, I don't know. I've never actually fought him without using his weakness, but judging what I know, that's probably not that great a fight even without it. But with his weakness, the hardest thing is to make sure you don't use it while he has iframes, because his weakness is Gravity Hold, which is a screen nuke. You don't have to aim it or anything. Which is good, because most of the time he will spend his time obscured by clouds in the foreground at the top of the screen while he shoots a gyro attack at you. But they're really easy to dodge. He doesn't really have particularly fast or tricky movement. He's honestly kind of pathetic. There's no real problems with it other than just being extremely easy. And I guess for that I would have to put it somewhere in the C tier. Probably above Drill Man. Next up is Napalm Man. Now let's talk about the odd duck in the room first. He's one of our remaining Game Gear boss fights, and this fight is hard. He moves so fast, and the screen crunch makes it not only almost impossible to see what attack he is doing in a manner that you can actually dodge it, but his projectiles move so fast that you might as well not even try. And he deals so much damage. His weakness is the Bright Weapon, which doesn't even do as much damage as literally every other Robot Master's weakness in this game. And you don't even have enough of it to defeat him with a full bar. It doesn't function like it does in Mega Man 4. Instead, it works more like the Gravity Hold does in Mega Man 6 on the NES, where it's basically just a screen nuke. And that is also part of the problem. He has really long invincibility frames, So you're just soaking up hit after hit, waiting for his iframes to wear off so you can hit him again. And then you still got to finish him off with the Mega Buster afterward. It's a really difficult fight. Definitely not as good as its counterparts. The Game Boy version thankfully gives him his normal weakness of the crystal eye, which deals 3 damage. If you miss him, it does bounce off the wall. It breaks into 3 segments and then bounces towards him. It sticks around for a little while, and that's not the best, but I think if one of them hits him, it does disappear after that. The fight is basically the same as the NES, except that the screen crunch once again makes it difficult to avoid his projectiles, which do move pretty fast. Not as fast as they do in the Game Gear version, but all in all, it's a much more manageable fight. You certainly don't have to have an E-Tank as a requirement like you do in the Game Gear version. As for the NES version, this is Napalm Man as he was meant to be. He's not too bad. It is tricky to jump over his missiles, but it is doable. And he is really well suited for being weak to the Crystal Eye, because the patterns that he jumps in and the way he stays on the ground a lot of the time, it is very well suited for the trajectory that that weapon takes, both when you fire it and when it rebounds off the wall. The napalm is probably the hardest thing to deal with because it bounces on the ground and you gotta get pretty far clear of it because it does explode in a pretty big blast. And that makes it hard to get a hit on him. He's likely going to jump before you can get a shot off after you're a safe distance away. And, yeah, hilariously, since the Crystal Eye is kind of a slow-moving projectile, it's very possible to have a double KO. Napalm Man, he's not a bad fight. Not at all. Yeah, I think pretty close to Crystal Man, actually. Right, Sandwich Oil Man in between the two of them. Next up is one of my all-time favorite Robot Masters, Starman. Now, the gimmick of this whole stage is that it's in space, so in the boss room, of course, you have anti-grav jumps. You can jump all the way up to the ceiling, as can he. And that's kind of his whole basis for attack. He's a very jumpy boy. And this is especially true in the Game Gear version of the game. His basic attack pattern is he will pull up a shield, he'll jump, he'll throw it at you, he'll land, he'll jump again, pull his shield up, land, throw it at you, and he'll repeat in that alternating pattern. In the Game Gear version, his weakness is the stone weapon, which is actually really good against him. It doesn't break his shield, but fortunately his shield doesn't actually break the stone weapon either. And it kind of rotates in a tighter formation than it does on the NES and the Game Boy version. And since he's such a jumpy boy, it's almost guaranteed to hit him. It's a decent weapon. Otherwise, the fight is more or less the same as it is in the NES version. He does not make a Game Boy appearance, but on the NES version, he is weak to the water wave, dealing 4 damage to him, which does eat up his shield. And without a shield, he'll be locked into an AI repeating pattern that's easily exploitable, very similar to Toadman. I'm torn on this one because this is one of my favorite Robot Masters, and I usually don't have his weakness when I fight him. because he's the first Robot Master I go after when I play Mega Man 5. And I'm also torn because the fight with his weakness is pretty good on the Game Gear version, but I gotta be fair to the rest of the Robot Masters on this list. It's kinda weak sauce with the Water Wave in Mega Man 5. I don't think it's as bad as Toadman because he can still get an attack off on you if your positioning's not great. But it's pretty close. The fight's definitely better than Charge Man. It's better than Elect Man. It's better. Can I really? Oh man. I don't want to call him an F fight. You know, we'll put him at the bottom of the D tier. Yeah. I mean, these all in the F tier range from pathetic to aggravatingly broken. And these guys in the D tier are pretty easy. So I think it's fair. He'll be at the very bottom of the D tier. I can't, in good conscience, place him any higher than that. Mega Man 5 has a lot of Robot Masters that are very jumpy boys, but none of the jumpy boys are jumpier than the jumpiest boy of all, Stone Man. This guy's whole strategy is he hops, 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 and tries to jump on you. And he can do a small hop, or he can do a big hop, which results in him crumbling to the ground, making him invulnerable for a little bit. And rarely you'll see him use the Power Stone. But words fail to describe the absurdity of the Game Gear version of this fight. He moves so incredibly fast. This fight is ridiculous. He moves so fast that if you fire the Napalm Bomb, which is his weakness, at him while he is doing a big jump and crumples, he will actually come out of his invulnerability so fast that the missed bomb will still hit him. It is a very difficult fight, and it's not one I would want to take without an E-Tank. The Game Boy version and the NES version play largely the same, except I think the screen crunch works against you on the Game Boy version, because there's not as much room to maneuver around. But basically, you're hoping for the small hops, and you just throw a Napalm Bomb out while he's making his small hop, about to land on it. Real easy. Power Stone's almost a non-issue in the Game Boy and NES version. You very rarely see it. In fact, in the Game Gear version, and you only see it if you play on the hard difficulty. It doesn't use it at all if you're playing on normal. Stone Man, it's not a bad fight. It doesn't really wow me, but you know, I could definitely say it's above average for a fight. Put him next to his jumpy buddy, Bomb Man. They're both pretty jumpy boys. Yeah, I like that placement because it's a little similar to Needle Man, but I don't think it's as good a fight. It's also similar to Bomb Man, but I think it's slightly better. So yeah, that is a good place to put him. And that brings us to our final Robot Master of Mega Man 5. I like Wave Man a lot. There's no other way to put it. This is a tricky fight. It took me many, many times fighting him before I realized exactly how it works. But before I get into explaining it, let's look at the Game Gear version because it's a little bit different. The first thing you're going to notice from the footage is he actually doesn't have a weakness. He takes no damage from every weapon except the Mega Buster. He's a little more rude in the Game Gear version than he is in the NES. His general strategy is mostly the same with one minor difference. He will make a hop. He will try to bring a water spout up at your location. And then right before he makes another hop, he will shoot a harpoon at you. And that is his strategy. He moves slightly faster than he does in the NES version. But of all the Robot Masters in the Game Gear versions, this one's definitely the closest to being the same as the NES counterpart. However, if we look at the NES version, it is mostly the same. He's a little bit slower. There's more room to maneuver around. But the one key difference is when he shoots the water spout up, he doesn't shoot it at your location. He tries to shoot it right in front of you. Because his weakness is the charge kick. And while you won't take damage sliding through him unless your slide ends while you're still in his hitbox, you will take damage from the water spout. So that's why his strategy is to put it up in front of you. So there's a bit of a rhythm to it. You want to bait the water spout, and if you have room, slide through him. Or wait until he jumps, which you need to dodge his harpoon, and then slide under him when he lands, which will almost always result in him shooting his water spout harmlessly, either in front of you or just like way off the mark, because you may have like turned around as soon as he decided where to attack. I don't know, it's a tricky fight, but it's one that I do really like. This is an A-tier fight for sure. So you can hang out with this boy, Gravity Man. And there you have it. The rankings of probably my least favorite classic Mega Man game.